All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are listening to this live Google Hangout. Guys, my name is Richard Duffy. I'm also known as Reverend Rich, and I'm coming to you again to teach the metaphysical approach to prosperity and wealth. So I hope you enjoyed the last video that I shared, actually, the last two. And I'm going to continue on in the series by using the book by Catherine Ponder, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. But before I begin, I just had to play this song because this song fits with the ideas that I want to share with everyone in reference to prosperity and wealth. So take a listen to the song. Let's talk about money is coming to me. I hope you can hear it good. I can just feel it. Can you feel it? And I believe it. It's coming to me now. Don't worry about how. The universe is working for me, and I believe it's working for me now, and I'm not worried about how. More than enough to live, more than enough to give, more than enough to share. Feel like it's already here. To give away. Money is coming to me. I could just feel it, and I believe it. It's coming to me now. How many believe the universe is working for you? I can just feel it. And I believe. To give away. All right. Oh, guys, that is so powerful. That song is by Eddie Watkins Jr. And I found several of his songs that fits the ideas that I believe, the concepts and the principles I believe. And so I felt it was fitting to play a portion of that song so you can hear exactly the things that I want to share throughout the series that I'm going to share with you, the dynamic laws of prosperity. So this is very, very exciting. All right. So again, I'm here to teach on the dynamic laws of prosperity, the metaphysical approach to wealth and prosperity. And I'm going to be pulling some ideas from this wonderful book. If you don't have this book, I encourage you to get this book. You can get it from Amazon.com or Amazon.com, or many of the bookstores have this wonderful book, and it's a classic. I mean, if you take time and read it, Catherine Ponder did an excellent job in teaching prosperity from a metaphysical perspective. And not only that, but she got results, and that's the key. You know, I never forget when I attended my first conference with the Universal Foundation for Better Living, and the Reverend Dr. Beckwith was doing a lesson. And I never forget this because I have my bachelor's degree in metaphysics, so which in turns means that I'm a metaphysician. So I never forget when he said that there's nothing more frustrating than a frustrated metaphysician. What does that mean? That means you have all of these ideas and all of these truths and all of these concepts, affirmations, and you understand that abundance is everywhere present. There's not a place where God is not. So it doesn't care, it doesn't matter where I am in the world, abundance is available. It doesn't matter where you are, abundance is everywhere. Love is everywhere. Because why? God's presence is everywhere. And there's nothing more frustrating than a frustrated metaphysician who does not know this abundance is everywhere and doesn't know how to manifest. So the key to these principles that I'm going to share with you is important to know, but it's also more important to understand, because when you understand, that is when you can demonstrate. When you understand who you are, okay, and you understand the universe and how these spiritual laws work, you can definitely manifest whatever you desire. Okay, and so my goal is to completely eradicate any idea or thought in your mind when it comes to prosperity and wealth. When it comes to the idea if you should seek or pursue wealth, prosperity, or to become rich. I want to eradicate that idea completely out of your mind. And I'm going to use as many tools as I can. And last video I shared with you, and I came, very hard at this idea, because this has been a lie for centuries into believing that poverty is a virtue. And when Catherine Ponder shared in her book that the shocking truth about prosperity, that it is shockingly right. And I also added to that was, I am encouraging everyone to become wealthy. And I want you to go as far as your mind can see. That's right. And I'm encouraging everyone to do that, because we have lived in this mindset too long, mediocrity too long. And we have settled in this mediocrity lifestyle because deep down, back in our subconscious mind, we feel that it's okay to live in a very mediocrity type life. Okay. And I don't believe anybody should have to live that way. Just like the song say, I have plenty to give, plenty to shop, plenty to share, and I have plenty to give away. And I believe there is enough. We don't have to ever worry if me becoming wealthy, am I taking away wealth from someone else? Now, this is where that poverty consciousness comes from. Because if you have a poverty mindset, that means you believe that there is not enough to go around. So then you have to do things that are wrong in your heart, that you know is wrong. And then you have to go around and do things that are probably illegal. Okay. And because you have this poverty mindset, if you first understand that everything that exists or will exist is pressed out of God in different forms of manifestation, right? That is pressed out of God. And since the nature of God, hear this, is absolute good, it's impossible to have poverty and lack. Since the nature of God is absolute good, then in your reality, it can't be lack or prosperity if you understand that abundance is everywhere and is your divine heritage. Are you hearing me? This is exciting, guys. I am excited because I'm doing exactly what I feel in my heart that God has called me to do, to teach and to minister to people who have basically held their hands up. And the only thing they're interested in is one day in the afterlife, enjoying, what they believe one day they're going to enjoy heaven, and they're going to walk around the streets of gold. They're going to enjoy their mansion. And I'm saying, why not enjoy all the beauty and all the love and the luxuries right now? Why you got to wait until you die? Why can't you enjoy it right now? All right. So, and I'm just excited, and I'm hoping that these lessons are being a tremendous blessing to you. So let's continue with some of the things that I shared with you last week again. I mean, not last week, yesterday, actually. The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. And she goes on to say that poverty, first of all, she talks the title of this chapter said that poverty is a sin. I love that, because it's not something, you don't hear that. You know, when Charles Fillmore first said that back in the early 1900s, it probably shocked the community world. It probably said, what did he just say? He said poverty is a sin. And the reason why is because if you know who your father is, if you know who God is, and you know that you are a direct link to spirit, God, and the universe, that you are the offspring of abundance. And if abundance is not being expressed in your life, okay, in your world life and affairs, then that's just as bad as planting apple seeds and you getting oranges on your branches. There should be an expression of prosperity in your life. There is no reason why it shouldn't. Not only that, I'm going to show you in this book that you should be seeking it. You should be seeking prosperity. So watch this. She said, poverty fills prisons with thieves and murderers. It drives men and women to drink, prostitution, dope, addiction, suicide. It drives potentially fine, talented, intelligent children to delinquents and crime. A poverty mindset drives people to do things that is not in their nature to do. And for the life of me, and I'll say this, and I'll continue to say this throughout these series, every time that I come on this Google Hangout, or if you see me do a video, that ministers need to take more of a vital role and start teaching the spiritual laws of prosperity, so the members of their congregation can start becoming wealthy. And I'm just going to say it just like it is, because I talked to a minister friend of mine, and I said this. I said, just imagine if you had three members, just said three people in your congregation that were multimillionaires. I said, number one, when they tithe, I think this is right. If you're $1 million, you tithe 10%, it's be 100,000. Right? Now imagine their tithes coming in on a monthly, weekly, or higher, whatever basis, or a yearly basis. Could a lot be done in that organization? Yes. Here's one thing that I have done to remove the blockage for my unlimited good coming into my life. I had a belief that if you were a minister, now I built 2 churches, that if you was a minister, you could not be wealthy. I had to believe that, you are called by God and you are committed 100, I ain't gonna say 100%, 120% to your calling. That means you do whatever God is calling you to do. That means if God has called you to minister in the street, I mean, whatever the calling is, you are committed to that calling. And when it comes to material things like wealth and all of those things, you don't worry about those things. And I've seen several hundreds of ministers struggle financially because they're committed to the call, the ministry, and their ministry struggle. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. We are afraid to teach people how to become rich. And we don't want to. And I'm going to share with you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to on this hangout, but I'm going to share with you the reason why that is. I'm going to share with you the history, the reason why that we refuse to teach prosperity in our ministries, in our churches. Now, for long, for me, I even told a minister friend, you know, you know how when people say, listen, Richard, when you are a minister and you're a teacher, you can't run away from your teaching. And I said, yeah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear all that. And I never forget, I said this to him. I said, well, listen, love don't pay bills. Basically, what I'm saying is, listen, I'm not ready or willing to be a martyr for God, and then I can't have no money. I can't do the things I love to do. I can't travel because, being a minister and your life at that time, what I used to believe was depending on people's free will offering. Well, then if I don't teach people in the congregation how to become wealthy, well, then they don't give much in the offering. So then if the board wanted to give me a salary, well, there's not much there to give, Pastor. I mean, we have to take care of these expenses, so there's not much to give for you. So, Pastor, you got to go get a job while you're preaching. You guys hear me? Seriously, a lot of ministers who are committed to the call struggle financially. Churches struggle financially. And they have they have all these special days, they have these cookouts, they have this, they have that. And I'm saying, why not teach people spiritual laws about wealth and prosperity? Teach them how to become entrepreneurs, teach them how to understand these spiritual laws so they become wealthy, so they can learn how to give. Okay, so they can learn how to give. Teach them how to be successful. Teach them that it's okay to desire to be rich. Matter of fact, when that desire in you, it is the God desire in you that's saying it is okay. It's pushing you. If you could teach that to your members, then when they give, they're not giving their last. As we've heard people say, they give their last, or we've heard stories where people's on fixed income and they give their last. If you teach the principles that Catherine Pounder taught here, and remember now, she taught these principles during the Depression, and people, businessmen and women, were reaping success from these spiritual laws. So these principles here can still help you no matter where you are and no matter what time frame it is. These principles still work. She was teaching these during the Depression, and people were finding success in their business and getting promotions on their job. Some left their jobs and started to follow their passion. Are you understanding me? Are you hearing me? I mean, this is powerful. So look at this. It says, a doctor had said that he would have few patients if it were not for financial problems. Now, I know for a fact that not having enough money to pay bills and not having enough money to do the things that you would enjoy to do, or not having enough money to support your children as they're in college, can bring a lot of tension, a lot of stress, a lot of worry. And you already know most of your illness is mental. Most of illnesses are mental. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it again. We as ministers need to teach our people how to become wealthy, because it will free them from the stress of trying to pay bill, also the pressure of wanting to support the ministry, wanting to support the organization. Then they have children that they have to feed, they got to clothe, they got to do all of these different things, and we are afraid to teach prosperity. That's why I clap for a person like the late Reverend Ike. And I told you in my last video, I used to criticize the guy. And listen, there's not one message that he didn't teach, that he didn't talk about finances and money. Yeah, he talked about also health, which is very important. He also talked about relationship, being happy. But he emphasized this idea about becoming wealthy. It was an emphasis on him. It was an emphasis in his lessons. And if you look at the members and look at the people, they were blessed by his lessons. They prospered by his lessons. Oh, you just follow. Listen, follow the people that are successful. There's no need to listen to someone who's not. So the thing is, I used to listen to Reverend Ike years ago and used to, criticize him because I had that old mindset. I had that old traditional mindset that I thought wealth and riches were not spiritual. You weren't supposed to seek for those things. But now I understand, that actually wealth and riches is God loving me. Did you hear that? Yes, it is. It is God loving me. The more wealth that God gives me, is the more love He's pouring on me. Oh boy, isn't that awesome? Isn't it a different way to look at it? The more wealth that God gives me is more of God loving me. Here's the thing that you have to do, though. You have to accept this idea that it's okay. It is okay. See, I'm saying this over and over again because I know it has been one of the strongest foothold in people's minds about riches and wealth. And throughout these Google Hangouts and videos, I'm going to share with you some scriptures that has been a hang up. Some of the stories of Jesus that has been a hang up. The reason why people have had a difficult time turning the page, moving into that area of desiring wealth, and it's okay to seek wealth. I'm going to share with you some of the scriptures that would help to get rid of that pious mentality, that poverty mentality, so that you can enjoy life and enjoy immensely. You can have heaven on earth. All right? Okay. Look what she says here. It goes on to say that the doctor says that many of his patients are having all of these problems health-wise because of financial problems, because it causes worry, strain, tension, all which lead to ill health. He states that our mental hospitals are filled with people who have found financial strain. Our mental hospitals are filled with people who have many financial strain over a long period, impaired their minds and bodies to the point of incapacity. So over a long period of time, you have people who have had mental strain and worry due to financial situation. And what happens is they get fixed in this mindset that there is no other way. There is no other solution. No one is sharing it, especially in their churches, in their community. So where else do I go? And here's one of the things that changed for me. And I have to be honest, guys, I'm the type person, I tell the truth. You know when it changed for me? I didn't hear it in the church because, like I said, churches didn't teach it. It changed for me when I went to a network marketing event. And when I saw different ones walking across the stage and they're just as normal and natural as everybody else, and they were making all this money, and some of them were loving God just like everybody else. I'm like, what in the world is happening here? Now, I say that for this reason. To me, it's pretty sad when the only time you're going to hear about wealth and success is that people have to go to a network marketing event in order to hear it. Catherine Ponder talks in this book that I'm going to continue to share with you that the most prosperous book around is the Bible. If it's understood correctly and if it's interpreted correctly, there are so many prosperous jewels in that book that anybody who's followed the principles in that book will become rich and wealthy. But for some reason that I'm going to share with you in other videos, the reason why we've been afraid to share it. Prosperity. It is your divine inheritance. The Bible is filled with rich promises regarding your potential prosperity as a child of God. It's full of prosperity principles and your rich heritage as a child of God. That means you should be rich. All right. It says you should be prosperous and well supplied and have an abundance of good because it is your divine heritage. Your creator wants you that way. That is the shocking, nice truth about prosperity. Now, again, the truth about prosperity and the shocking right about it is that your creator wants you to be rich. I love it. I never forget a while back, I can't remember the date, but when it rose in me that God wants me to be rich. Woo! I know that's a breakthrough for somebody. Somebody's gonna watch this video. It's just gonna like just gonna cry because they're gonna hear this idea that yes, God wants you to be rich. Now, let me explain to you why. Listen, you cannot be much good to yourself or to anyone else unless you are prosperous. Does that make sense? You cannot be good for yourself to anyone else unless you are prosperous. Now, I want you to think about this. You remember in the beginning, I mentioned about giving to organizations that you believe in, supporting your children. You know, we support and we encourage our children to go to school, and we encourage our children to follow their dreams and follow their passion, follow their ideas, right? And when they attend school and they go to school and then they finish school and they're 100 and 200 some $150,000 in debt with that money, and wouldn't it feel good that you are able to eradicate that debt for your child? Wouldn't it feel good that you're able to write a check and pay for their college? If we can understand, and really understand that there is no limit to what you could do, be, and have. He that hath this understanding, more is given. He that hath the understanding that there is more than enough, that if you can see yourself writing a check and paying for your kids' college, so they're not having this big bill when they're done. And there is unlimited abundance everywhere. There's more than enough. But the first thing you have to do is understand that God wants it that way. Everything exists and will exist is pressed out of God in different forms of manifestation. So since the nature of God is good, there can be no lack in reality. What is your reality showing you? There can be no lack in reality. Does your reality say I can't have what I want to have, can't do what I want to do, can't be what I want to do? Well, we want to change that. We want to get rid of the worry. We want to get rid of the stress. We want to get rid of the tension. And we want us to accept the idea that whatever I ask is given. And anything I seek, I find. And when I knock, the door is open. All right? Look what it says here. Besides, you cannot be much good to yourself. Okay? When you have a poverty consciousness, you can't help anybody else. You can't help family members around you. You can't give to those things that are important to you. It says, the person who does not desire to be prosperous is abnormal. And I would totally agree. A person who does not desire to be prosperous is not normal because our Creator is rich. Our Creator has unlimited good. And because I am His child, I can have unlimited good experiences in my life right now. I can have those things. Look what it says. The person who does not desire to be prosperous is abnormal, because without prosperity, you live abnormally, right? Look what it says. You cannot live fully on the physical plane without proper food. You can't live on the physical plane without comfortability, clothing, warm shelter, and without freedom from excessive toil. Let me share something with you. My wife and I, in the last, I would say, month, 2 months, have decided to eat more healthier, which means the food that we used to buy is not is less expensive than the food that we want to buy, which is healthier. Now, this is another reason why you should seek to be rich. Because if you want to get food that is organic and, the health food stores, the prices are much higher. And I don't see any reason why your creator does not want to supply for you the enough finances where if you want to buy certain types of food, that you can have it. You want to live in a certain neighborhood. Matter of fact, let me say it to you this way. God says yes to everything you desire. That means if you don't want to be prosperous, God says, okay, yes, that is for you. And if you say, yes, I want to be prosperous, I want to be rich, and God says yes. Did you hear that? That means if you don't want to have abundance, God says, okay. And if you say, I want to have it all, God says, okay. Yes, you can have it all. Now, can you believe it when the illusions around you show you something different? I always love the story about the Karate Kid. You remember the story that he wanted to learn karate because he was being bullied, and the guy was teaching him. But what he did, he told him to paint, and he told him to wax his car, and then he was sanding the deck. And the whole time, he didn't know he was actually learning. And he got frustrated and got upset and said, you got me doing all your work. And he said, and I come here, you're supposed to be teaching me. And his shoulder was sore, so he fixed his shoulder. And the whole time he was learning, cried the whole time. Why did I share that story? Because there are things that already has happened in your life. There's enough inside of you right now. There's enough potential good in you right now to make you rich right now. You already have it on inside of you. Whatever you're looking for is already in you. He was learning it the whole time. And a lot of your experiences in life can be written in a book. Sometimes we look so far to find our wealth, and it's right there. The whole time he was really learning how. He was already learning karate. He just didn't know it. Right now, you don't have to go far because God has already put that which is in you to become wealthy. Now, what you have to do is get rid of these old concepts and beliefs, whether or not you should seek for it. The people who don't have the issues that many people that I have known has had issues, the reason why they don't? Do you realize that their finances rise? Because they had no problem. they don't, in other words, they don't have a problem. Remember I told you my story is that as I was becoming successful in business, and then as I started making money, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I heard this voice in my heart that says, well, listen, if you love God, then you can't love money at the same time. Then the love of God is not in you. You're becoming worldly. Then I stop. But people who don't have religious dogma, old traditions that keep you in bondage, their wealth increases because they don't have a problem with it. Once they understand the principles and the laws, their wealth continues to increase. And guess what happens when their wealth continues to increase? They become leaders. They're able to teach others who are willing to listen and follow them. They enjoy more things in life. They get to travel whenever they feel like it and come home whenever they feel like it because they don't have an issue with religious dogma. I'm emphasizing that because that's the thing that held me back. Old traditions that kept us in bondage, believing that God is not desiring people for wealth and riches and living in beautiful homes, driving in beautiful cars, giving to charities and organizations that you believe in, and you still have plenty to spare, even after you give. I've talked to many people, and I've just, out of the blue, just asked them a question in reference to wealth. And I've had some say, well, I don't know if I really want to be rich because then what about other people? Because if I'm rich, then, I feel bad for being rich because then they're struggling. There is not one wealthy person has that problem. You talk to the wealthy people around, you talk to some of the athletes, some of the actors, actresses, and different other people, they don't have that problem. Most people have that problem because of the old concept and these old ideas that they have about God and prosperity. And I'm here to tell you, we got to get rid of those ideas so you can enjoy life and enjoy it abundantly. Okay? All right, let's continue. She goes on to say, you cannot live fully on the mental plane without satisfying the creative mental activity. In other words, like books, time to enjoy them, good music, art, and other cultural interests, without opportunity and money for travel and intellectual association with other similar interests. Let me share something with you that what she just said is so important. Prior to 9/11, my family was never ever flown on an airplane prior to 9/11. And after 9/11, we really didn't have any interest to get on a plane. So I remember back in 2006 when we first flown, and we flew to Cancun, Mexico. And we had to get a passport, and we flew to Cancun. The following year, we went to the Bahamas. The following year, we went to Puerto Rico. And I have to tell you guys, traveling to these beautiful islands, the weather was beautiful. Flying is the way to go. I truly enjoyed myself. Now, you realize that I didn't go to any of these places without having to pay for the travel expense, eating, and living in the hotel. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you don't have plenty of money, and if you're not seeking for wealth and seeking to be rich, then the way to enjoy life, in other words, flying to a place like Cancun, staying in a luxury, beautiful hotel, being pampered, and then flying back home, and then going on a beautiful cruise, and then going to the Bahamas, and I think in that area you can swim with the dolphins. People do this all the time, and there are people who do it a lot because they have understood there is no contradiction in their heart about wealth. There is no contradiction in their heart about being rich. So they have a beautiful time. their family, enjoys life. Does that make sense? You understand me? They have an opportunity to do things that many people can't do because it takes money to do those things. It takes money to travel. My wife and I, we just come back from Arizona, taking care of our two children as they're there going to school. It costs us money to travel to Arizona and back. It costs money to do almost anything you wanted to do. And being rich allows you to enjoy these things. My encouragement to you is that not only being rich, but understand that it is okay to be rich and it's okay to seek it. Okay? This is what she says here. She says it's you without it, you can't enjoy books, times of enjoyment, travel, enjoying music, and also intellectual association with other similar interests. You know, I really enjoyed spending beautiful times with the conference at Panorama of Truth when I went to Cancun and Puerto Rico and different things. In other words, you fellowship with people of like mind and you hang around, you fellowship and you talk and you eat and you have a good time because you're just enjoying yourself. It takes money to do that. Okay? And you never want to ever let money be an issue of why you can't do what you want to do. And since the creator is rich and unlimited good is part of his nature, and because I am a child of God, then I can experience unlimited good and wealth. It goes on to say, make no excuses for putting up with lack or accepting it as a permanent arrangement in your life. Get rid of the excuse. Well, I am what I am because, or I'm having this problem because. There are a plethora of stories of people who were homeless, sleeping in the van, sleeping in the car. I mean, there are so many stories out there that we have heard and read of people who have been in tough situations. No doubt, probably tougher situations than you. And an idea rose in their mind. And they took action on that idea. And by them taking action, look what has happened in their life. Do you think that, look at Tyler Perry right now, and you know his story. Do you think that he enjoys life right now? Yep. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he has no religious dogma, man-made ideas that keeps him away from enjoying wealth. And that's all it is. These religious ideas were man-made. And I'm going to share with you that on the next Google Hangout. Why it's difficult for people, especially people in the church, to become rich is because these man-made ideas that were created to keep people in poverty so they could be under control. I'm just going to tell you like it is. It is my goal that everyone become rich and happy. And I'm going to share with you why this is and how we can get rid of it so that we can enjoy life like we're supposed to. It says, there is no reason for you to think of prosperity as something separate from your spiritual life as beyond the pale of religion. You do not have to try to live two worlds where you run things for 6 days and then on the 7th give God a chance to show what he can do. In other words, a person does not have to be afraid. Most time when you speak of religious, we speak of people's commitment to going to church on Sunday. You have to understand that the called out ones are not the ones who go to the church building. Should we go to church and fellowship? Yes, I think that's a wonderful thing because we're fellowshipping. But the true church is the ecclesia, the called out ones. Those of you who are listening to this hangout right now, you're being called to be rich. Are you going to accept that call? Don't be afraid. Yes, people's going to criticize you. Yes, people are going to say, no, you're out of the God's will. But there's a calling for you to experience a good life. And one of the ways to experience a good life is to becoming rich. And don't be afraid to accept that calling. I accepted it. There was a time where I was afraid. There was a time that I struggled with it. I struggled with what I thought people was going to say. I don't care anymore because I'm convinced in my mind, I'm convinced in my heart that God wants his people to be rich, and we are all God's people. Now, in my quote that I always share with everyone all the time, it says, you ought to be rich. You have no right to be poor. To live and not be rich is a misfortune. And it's a double misfortune because you could have been rich just as well as being poor. But that quote goes on to say, we ought to get rich if we can by honorable methods. And these are the only methods that sweep us quickly toward the goal to riches. Do you know love would get you rich quicker than hate? Do you know forgiveness would get you quicker to wealth than unforgiveness? Do you know compassion would get you quicker to wealth and riches? Do you hear what I'm saying? Honorable methods will lead you quickly toward the place of wealth. So don't ever think that Reverend Rich is sharing with you by any means get your money. By no means am I saying that. But what I am saying is that if there's something on the inside of you that's pushing you to become better than what you are, to increase you to where you are right now, don't be afraid. Follow it. Seek it. Because it's telling you, and nobody else can keep that from you. Nobody else can tell you whether or not that is an impulse of God on inside of you. And don't ever think that you becoming wealthy will ever take wealth from someone else. We live in an unlimited universe. And there is plenty for everybody here on this earth. More than enough that we can enjoy, we can share, and we have plenty to spare. I have plenty to give, plenty to save, plenty to share. All right. Do you believe me? Do you agree? Okay. All right. This is exciting. Woo! I'm going to continue tomorrow on these lessons. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to continue to break that hole that we've had about becoming wealthy. And this is what I'm going to touch on. Where this idea came from, to the point that it has kept a lot of people not experiencing the wealth and the riches that they should enjoy. Okay? So we're going to continue on using this book. And if you have it, I encourage you to get it. The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. It is a phenomenal book. And I will share with you also many other books that I have studied and read and things that have changed my life. So guys, my goal for you is to live rich and live happy. All right? Peace and blessings.